Good afternoon. My name is Dan Scripps, Chair of the Michigan Public Service Commission. I call this meeting of the Commission to order on February 11, 2025 at 1:03 p.m. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Chair Scripps.
Present.
Heritage.
Present.
Commissioner Carrion.
Present.
Mr. Chair, you have a quorum.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. Today's meeting is being held in person at the Commission's office at 7109 West Saginaw Highway in Lansing, Michigan. We're also hosting this meeting remotely using Microsoft Teams. Telephone relay service is available through the phone option. If you are participating via Microsoft Teams, you may also turn on the live captions by clicking on the More button at the top right of your Teams window, then clicking on Language and Speech from the drop-down menu, and finally clicking on Turn on Live Captions. As indicated in the notice for today's meeting, if we lose the remote connection, the Commission will not recess. The meeting will, however, be recorded and available for future reference on the Commission's website. In addition, the Commissioners can receive comments via lara-mpsc-commissioners@michigan.gov. And for reference, this email is also included in today's meeting notice. We'll have an opportunity for the public to make comments as provided in the agenda. A few notes about this. Comments are limited to 3 minutes and 1 per person. If you would like to make verbal comments, you must do so in person or remotely through Microsoft Teams or by calling into the meeting by phone. For individuals attending in person and who want to make a verbal comment, please fill out a comment card. Comment cards are available at the front table near the podium. For individuals participating remotely by Microsoft Teams and who want to make a verbal comment, you may click on the raise hand button at any time to be queued up for comment. For individuals participating remotely by phone and who want to make a verbal comment, you may press *5 at any time to be queued up for comment. Public commenters on both Microsoft Teams and on the phone are added to the same speaker queue and will be called upon in the order they enter the speaker. So please do not lower your hand or press *5 again. You'll be removed from the queue and lose your place in line. To minimize disruptions, attendees participating by Microsoft Teams or by phone will be muted until we reach the time for public. First order of business is approval of the agenda for today's meeting.
I move for the approval of the agenda for today's commission meeting.
I second the motion.
Is there any discussion? Now have a vote on the motion to approve today's agenda. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries by a unanimous vote. Agenda is approved. Next item of business on the agenda is approval of the minutes from the January 23, 2025 commission meeting.
I move for the approval of the minutes from the January 23, 2025 commission meeting.
I second the motion.
Is there any discussion? Now have a vote on the motion to approve the minutes from the January 23, 2025 commission meeting. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries by a unanimous vote. The commission meeting minutes of January 23, 2025 are approved. The next item of business on the agenda is the approval of orders and minute actions on the consent agenda. And today the commission is assisted by Staff Attorney Alyssa Day.
Good afternoon. Today's consent agenda consists of 6 communications matters, 1 electric matter, and 2 gas matters. Proposed orders and minute actions for these matters have been thoroughly vetted by the Commission's technical and legal staff and are ready for your approval.
Thank you, Ms. Day. I move for the approval of the orders and minute actions on the consent agenda.
I second the motion.
Is there any discussion? Now have a vote on the motion to approve the orders and minute actions on the consent agenda. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries by a unanimous vote. The orders and minute actions on the consent agenda are approved. I recognize Ms. Day.
Item 4A1 is case number U17377, which involves implementation of the provisions of Public Act 95 up to 2013 as amended and sets the proposed low-income energy assistance fund factor. Staff member Rika Holly-Volker will describe this order.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Public Act 615 of 2012 established the Michigan Energy Assistance Program, or the MEAP. This assistance program, administered by the Commission pursuant to an interagency agreement with the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services, provides assistance with home electricity and heating needs for customers at or below 150% of the federal poverty level. The MEAP program is funded through a non-bypassable surcharge of up to $1 per month on the meters of electric utility customers whose utility opts in to collecting this surcharge. The surcharge, the Low Income Energy Assistance Funding Factor, was established by law in Public Act 95 of 2013 and is determined annually by the Commission. The monies collected by the funding factor are put into the Low Income Energy Assistance Fund, or LIEF, and paid out on behalf of MEAP recipients. The LIEF collects approximately $50 million annually, and since 2019, the MEEP has provided assistance with electric and home heating bills to between approximately 50,000 and 55,000 households in all 83 counties of Michigan. And this assistance does not just cover electricity and natural gas. Customers receive help with their deliverable fuels as well, including propane, wood, pellets, corn for corn burners, and even cherry pits. In 2024, the Michigan Legislature adopted Senate Bills 353, 880, and 881, and House Bill 6075, all of which were signed by the governor. These bills, now Public Acts 170, 169, 168, and 198 of 2024 respectively, expand eligibility for the MEEP program to customers at or below 60% of the state median income, which, depending on household size, equates to approximately 200% of the federal poverty level. These changes also expand funding for the program through various changes to the LIHEAP, the related LIHEAP funding factor, and new requirements imposed upon utilities that choose to opt out of collecting the LIHEAP funding factor. Included among those changes is a change to MEEP eligibility so that customers of opt-out utilities are no longer eligible for MEEP assistance, and a requirement that opt-out utilities provide an assistance program for their customers consistent with the eligibility guidelines of MEEP. This opt-out program must provide assistance for both home energy and home heating needs. The laws also include updated reporting requirements designed to provide additional transparency around the LIHEAP and MEEP, and to help provide greater insight into where LIHEAP is being collected and where MEEP assistance is being received. As part of the changes enacted by the MEEP and LIHEAP updates, the monthly cap on the LIHEAP funding factor, previously set at $1 per meter per month, is increased to $1.25 per meter per month for the coming year. In subsequent years, the LIHEAP funding factor may increase by 25 cents annually until it reaches a cap of $2 per meter, which is adjusted for inflation annually beginning in 2029. Reporting and other requirements are built into the law to protect against overcollection in the LIHEAP. Beginning in 2026, if the balance in the LIHEAP fund at the end of the fiscal year exceeds 10% of the funds collected in that fiscal year, the LIHEAP funding factor must be adjusted to collect the previous year's balance less the remaining balance fund. Under previous law, utilities were required to opt in or out of collecting the LIHEAP funding factor by July 1st, and the Commission was required to set the factor by July 31st. The 2024 updates adjust these dates. Under the new law, utilities with fewer than 45,000 residential customers may opt out of collecting the LIHEAP by filing a notice with the Commission by April 1st. Also, by April 1st, all electric utilities, both those participating in collecting the LIHEAP funding factor as well as those opting out, are required to file with the Commission a count of the meters subject to the LIHEAP, or, for those electric utilities that opt out, a count of the meters that would have been subject to the LIHEAP funding factor had they opted in. The Commission must set the LIHEAP funding factor by May 1. The order before you today reminds affected electric providers of the need to file the required LIHEAP information in the docket, and directs that electric utilities, municipally owned electric utilities, and cooperative utilities that plan to opt out of collecting the LIHEAP funding factor submit such notice to the Commission in this docket. All electric utilities, municipally owned electric utilities, and cooperative utilities, regardless of opt-out status, are also ordered to file their meter counts. The order directs that the meter counts be provided in 3 ways. First, as the total number of retail billing meters served in Michigan that are subject to the LIHEAP, or that would be subject to the LIHEAP if the provider were opting in. Second, the total number of retail billing meters served in Michigan subject to the LIHEAP, or that would be subject to the LIHEAP if the provider were opting in, by customer class. Third, the total number of retail billing meters served in Michigan subject to the LIHEAP, or that would be subject to the LIHEAP, by each county served by the provider. The notice of intent to opt out, along with the meter count information, must be filed in this docket by no later than 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on April 1st, 2025. In order to maintain consistency across utility meter counts, the order clarifies that the meter counts should reflect the average of the total monthly retail electric billing meters over the 2024 calendar year that were or would have been subject to the LIHEAP surcharge. The order reminds those providers who choose to opt out of collecting the LIHEAP surcharge of their obligation to provide an alternative program for their customers that is consistent with the eligibility requirements of MEEP. that such a program must be funded equivalent to what the utility would have collected through the LIHEAP, and that such programs must provide both home electric and heating assistance for the customers of the OptiNet utility. Finally, the order proposes a LIHEAP funding factor of $1.25 per meter per month for the billing year September 1, 2025 through August 31, 2026, and opens a comment period on the proposed factor. Comments on the proposed funding factor must be received by 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on March 4th. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Holly Velker. I move for the approval of the order in case number U-17377.
I second the motion.
Before we vote on this item, I just want to highlight a couple of key elements in Public Acts 168, 169, 170, and 198 of 2024 as described by Ms. Holly Velker, and how the order in front of us today takes action on these changes. Among the other elements covered in Ms. Holly Velker's presentation, the order in front of us today takes the first step in increasing the funding for MEEP, again, proposing to set the funding factor for 2025 at $1.25 per meter per month. This, when combined with the elimination of the total cap, is expected to result in approximately $71 million for MEEP assistance in fiscal year 2025-26, an increase of more than 40% from the $50 million collected in previous years. In addition, I'd also note that Governor Whitmer's executive budget recommendation included an additional $25 million for MEEP, which, if enacted by the legislature, would essentially get us to year 2 a year earlier than otherwise. In addition to increasing the funds available, as noted by Ms. Holly Velker, last year's amendments also expanded the number of Michiganders who are eligible for assistance under MEEP. Previously, a family of 4 was eligible if it made up to 150% of the federal poverty guideline, which equated to $46,800. Now, that same family is eligible if it makes 60% of the median state income, or $61,861, beginning October 1st, 2025. That's an additional $15,000 in income while still remaining eligible for this important assistance. With higher income eligibility, MEEP could provide energy assistance to as many as 335,000 Michigan households. Last Thursday, Commissioner Carrion and I had the opportunity to participate in an event celebrating these important statutory reforms. We heard from Governor Whitmer, some of the key bill sponsors, and representatives of community-based organizations, MEEP grantees, utilities, and faith leaders. What struck me most was how often the word dignity was used, that this additional support, in the words of Dr. Darian Hudson, CEO of the United Way for Southeastern Michigan, was about much more than just about being able to pay a bill. Through the testimonials and speeches, I was reminded of the quote from the author W. Somerset Maugham, who, describing the toll poverty can take, once wrote, "They have never felt the iron of poverty in their flesh. They do not know how mean it makes you. It exposes you to endless humiliation. It cuts your wings. It eats into your soul like a cancer. It is not wealth one asks for, but just enough to preserve one's dignity, to work unhampered, to be generous, frank, and independent." Reforms enacted by the legislature and signed into law at the end of last year, and the order before us today that takes the first step in implementing them, provide just that additional measure of independence, that additional measure of dignity. I appreciate the work of all involved in supporting both this additional funding and the important changes to the program that it will make it a little easier to navigate, particularly to you, Ms. Holly Velker, as well as to Ann Armstrong and Mary Wilkins from the Commission staff. And I also want to thank those MEEP grantees who will work directly to get this additional assistance into the hands of those Michiganders who need it most. I'm pleased to support this order. Is there any additional discussion? We will now have a vote on the motion to approve the, We will now have a motion on the vote to, on the motion to approve the order. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries by a unanimous vote. The order in case number U-17377 is approved. I recognize Ms. Day.
Item 4A2 is case number U-21285, which involves an application filed by DTE Electric Company seeking ex parte approval of the Cold Creek Solar Park project, including the engineering, procurement, and construction master service agreement and master supply agreement for solar panel modules. The order before you approves the application.
Thank you, Ms. Day. I move for the approval of the order in case number U-21285.
I second the motion.
Is there any discussion? We will now have a vote on the motion to approve the order. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries by a unanimous vote. The order in case number U-21285 is approved. Recognize Ms. Day.
Item 4A3 is case number U21419, which involves an application filed by Alpena Power Company for ex parte approval of an extension of the temporary waiver of Mich Admin Code R 460.732R of the Commission's Service Quality and Reliability Standards for electric distribution systems. The order before you grants the temporary waiver of Mich Admin Code R 460.732R until December 31st, 2029.
I move for the approval of the order in case number U-21419.
I second the motion.
Is there any discussion? We will now have a vote on the motion to approve the order. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries by a unanimous vote. The order in case number U-21419 is approved. I recognize Ms. Day.
Item 4A4 is case number U21779, which involves a formal complaint filed on August 6, 2024 by Larry Bieber against DTE Energy Company. The order before you dismisses the complaint without prejudice.
I move for the approval of the order in case number U-21779.
I second the motion.
Is there any discussion? We will now have a vote on the motion to approve the order. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries by a unanimous vote. The order in case number U-21779 is approved. I recognize Ms. Day.
Item 4B1 is case numbers U21525 et al., which involve an application filed by DTM Michigan Lateral Company requesting ex parte approval of a rate increase for firm transportation services on the wet header system. The order before you approves the application in part as set forth in the order.
I move for the approval of the order in case numbers U-21525 et al.
I second the motion.
Is there any discussion? We will now have a vote on the motion to approve the order. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries by a unanimous vote. The order in case numbers U-21525 et al. is approved. Recognize Ms. Day.
Item 4C1 is case number U21850, which involves the application of Detroit Thermal LLC for ex parte approval of a steam sales agreement with 1300 Lafayette East Cooperative Inc. The order before you approves the agreement, which is attached to the order as Exhibit A.
I move for the approval of the order in case number U-21850.
I second the motion.
Is there any discussion? We will now have a vote on the motion to approve the order. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries by a unanimous vote. The order in case number U-21850 is approved. Item 5 on the agenda today is a presentation from staff members Brian Sheldon and Michelle Powell on the Geographic Information System Mapping web page on the Commission's website. Invite Ms. Powell and Mr. Sheldon to join us at this time.
Great. Thank you, Chair Scripps, and thank you, Commissioners. My name is Brian Sheldon, and I'm a specialist in the Energy Security section here at the Commission. Today, it is my great pleasure to share with you a new initiative that is many months in the making. The Commission, as you well know, is a data-driven organization. Its staff and its leadership have expertise in a host of energy and telecommunications-related areas, and it continuously collects and analyzes data to help make decisions that serve the public interest. In recent years, the Commission has made a renewed push to put more of the information we maintain and use into the public domain, whether through public reports or other methods. The aim is to increase the overall level of transparency and understanding about the Commission's work and about the key energy systems the people of Michigan rely on every day. It is within this context that the Commission staff has identified another opportunity to make more information available to the public. Over the course of many months, Commission staff has worked to refresh, rebuild, and in many cases create from scratch various foundational geospatial data sets. In doing so, staff leveraged data and expertise from across the Commission, as well as from other state and federal agencies, and crucially, from the owners and operators of energy infrastructure themselves. As part of this process, staff collected, validated, and standardized the geospatial data, and then housed it in a centralized GIS repository, which is what we are pleased to present to you today. We hope that through this effort, interested parties obtain a better understanding of our energy systems and can put ongoing Commission activities into the proper geographic context. Additionally, GIS-based information is among the more common information requests we receive from the public, and we are pleased to now make this information available to anyone on a self-service basis. In just a moment, I'll invite my colleague Michelle Powell to provide a brief walkthrough of the Commission's new GIS website. But first, I want to thank all the state agencies, including the Michigan State Police and the Department of Environment, Great Lakes, and Energy, who have provided valuable data and guidance in support of this effort. Finally, I'd like to thank our Michigan utilities and their corresponding associations, because it is through their expertise and collaboration that we were able to obtain a level of data quality that we could not do without them. We are pleased to present to you what we've created so far, and we look forward to providing additional GIS content in the days to come. With that, I turn it over to Ms. Powell.
Thank you, Brian. My name is Michelle Powell, and I am a data analyst in the Energy Security section here at the Commission. Today, I will be providing a quick demo of the MPSC GIS hub site. The MPSC hub site may be accessed through the main Michigan Public Service Commission website. Currently, to access it, you can go to the Regulatory Information dropdown and go to the Report Forms and Data tab right there. Then, if you scroll down to the Data and Maps section, there is a link that will bring you directly to the MPSC GIS hub site. The MPSC hub site displays many different resources to educate and display different types of energy infrastructure found in Michigan. This includes the utility service areas of electric and natural gas utilities, electric generation for biomass, coal, hydroelectric, natural gas, nuclear, solar, and wind generation, and pipeline infrastructure separated by crude oil, natural gas, and refined petroleum products. And I will be demoing a few map applications found on the hub site, and I will start with the utility service areas application. So you can access that through the link on the featured maps of the homepage or by clicking on the header. This mapping application includes both the electric and natural gas utility service areas. So it opens up on the electric investor-owned cooperative and municipal utilities. You can zoom in manually on this mapping application. If you're interested in looking at a specific address or place, you can search directly and the map will automatically zoom into that location. If you're interested in a specific utility, you can choose from the dropdown or search for a specific utility of interest. Selecting it will allow the map to directly zoom to that utility. If you're interested in natural gas utility service territories, up here in the top right, you can toggle between them. And this shows the natural gas investor-owned and cooperative utilities. Again, you can zoom in manually, search a specific address or place, or use the drop-down. For both electric and natural gas, there is an informative pop-up for each utility that shows the name of that utility, what owner type, the approximate number of customers, as well as a direct link to that utility's website and a contact number for that utility. Next, I will demo the hydroelectric dams mapping application. This application includes the different dams whose purpose include generating hydropower energy found within Michigan. One moment as it loads. So this shows the different hydroelectric dams separated by owner type, so federal dams, local government, private public utility, and there are a few hydroelectric dams with unlisted owner type at this moment, but that is being worked on. Similar to the utility service areas mapping application, you can zoom in manually or search for a specific area if you're interested in which hydroelectric dams are nearby. And similarly, you can find an informative pop-up that shows the dam name, the owner names for that hydroelectric dam, as well as a bunch of other information about that specific hydroelectric dam. If you're interested in working with this data yourself, or if you would like to find where this data came from, there is a provided data portal found within the hub site that allows for anyone from the public to download any of the data layers that were utilized for this hub site. You simply select the data set that you're interested in, and this allows for you to view the full details for that layer, as well as download, depending on which format you're most interested in. Finally, if you would like to contact us, you can fill out an embedded survey found within the Contact Us page. And this will be sent directly to us. If you have any data requests, any questions, or have any feedback to provide, or if you would like to reach directly to us as well, you can send an email to the MPSC GIS email, which is lara-mpsc-gis@michigan.gov. That is the end of our presentation. I will hand this back to Chair Scripps.
Thank you, Ms. Powell, and thank you, Mr. Sheldon. I know Commissioner Peritic, you have some comments.
Oh, thank you, Chair. I just wanted to say thank you to Ms. Powell and Mr. Sheldon for their hard work on this mapping initiative. This was something that, a request, I guess, that I had brought to Brian a long time ago, and he and his team really ran with it and made the end result so much better than I expected. Transparency of our work and the energy system in Michigan is so important, and this is a really big step forward in improving that transparency and accessibility of our energy infrastructure information in our state. I highly recommend that everyone go and check this out on our website, as Ms. Powell described. I have spent hours looking through them, getting lost in the data, and I expect many of you will find them just as valuable and interesting as I did. So big thank you to the team.
Yeah, I agree. And just to add just a couple notes of my own, our mission is to be a best-in-class commission, and that's something that I think is deeply embedded in the culture here at the commission. And it's examples like this and what we saw from Mr. Sheldon and Ms. Powell that I think represent that culture best. That we've had maps for a number of years. They were in many cases outdated, and instead of just taking what we had and making a few tweaks and calling it good, they used it as an opportunity, driven with some encouragement from my colleagues, to go above and beyond, as they so often do. And so and this is the result, which I think is among the best examples of utility data and GIS presentation in the country. And so really appreciate the work of the two of you and the many others who worked on this project. I'll also note that when we published this and sent out a press release last week on it, I received a number of messages from energy wonks all across the state, literally from Southeast Michigan to the UP, including former legislators and agency heads and others who just, like you mentioned, Commissioner Peritic, spent hours getting into the data and sort of geeking out a little bit. And the ability to make that information available in a highly transparent and accessible way, I think speaks volumes to the way that we approach our work in general. And so again, appreciate your work and that of the many others who are involved in this project. We've now reached the time reserved for members of the public to address the commission. As mentioned in the notice for today's meeting, we will take public comments in the following order. First, from individuals attending in person, and then from individuals participating remotely, either through Microsoft Teams or the phone, who have entered the speaker queue. As a reminder, this public comment period is for commissioners to listen to comments and concerns and not to answer specific questions. When providing comment, please indicate your name and where you live if you're willing to share so that we have it for our records. And again, please limit comments to one per person and keep them brief, no longer than 3 minutes. I do have one comment card from Val Walscheid-Brennan. And so invite Ms. Walscheid-Brennan to the podium. And I see we have one hand as well. So on the online part, so.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. I would like to recognize that GIS portal. I had fun with it last week too. Very nice. My name is Val Walscheid-Brennan. I am here today regarding ITC's Nelson to Oneida project, case U21471. The proposed route threatens my historical Centennial Farm and all 3 of my family homes. ITC's alternative route, however, follows 8 miles of land already purchased for transmission siting to the Oneida substation, therefore reducing condemnation of the project by a significant 20%. Following existing right-of-ways is an industry best practice promoted by MISO and written in several federal and state laws. My purpose here is not just self-serving. I've consistently advocated to reduce community impact on this project. which leads me to ITC's request for a 200-foot right-of-way in both the Nelson to Oneida and Helix to Hipple projects. These projects are part of the MISO long-range transmission planning. Tranche 1 consists of 18 345 kV projects proposed by 15 different transmission developers. These are all monopole structures. Some include double, triple circuits. ITC stands out in the MISO region because they are the only 345 kV transmission developer requesting a 200-foot right-of-way. All other 345 kV developers are only requesting 150 feet. Under Public Act 30, ITC has the burden of proof to demonstrate departure from the 150-foot 345 kV regional standard set by everyone else. The footprint of a monopole is significantly less than that of an obsolete lattice tower, and the right-of-way needed should reflect this. The factors of vegetation, trees, ice, wind loading, NESC code, and NERC compliance in Michigan don't vary from our neighbors in Wisconsin, Minnesota, Illinois, or Indiana, who have the same obligations to provide safe and reliable power. Awarding ITC a 200-foot right-of-way instead of 150 feet will have significant impacts in the state of Michigan as we move forward with regional transmission planning. It is time to reevaluate what has been allowed in the past and not condemn more land than what is needed. Not only does this negatively impact landowners, but the cost complications will be felt by all Michigan ratepayers. I just threw a quick example together for this for the Helix to Hipple and Nelson to Oneida project. Together, they total approximately 95 miles. So that extra unnecessary 50 foot of right-of-way equates to 575 acres. If you use the MISO transmission planning guide estimate, Michigan land acquisition cost is $14,000 an acre. MISO also estimates 40% of Michigan terrain is wooded at a clearing cost of $6,000 an acre. 10% is wetland at a cost of $70,000 an acre for matting and construction. Therefore, condemning an unnecessary 575 acres on these two projects is going to cost Michigan ratepayers over $13.5 million. I support the Commission's dedication to ensuring safe and reliable power at reasonable rates. I also want to make sure that we are not wasting Michigan's precious green space, valuable farmland, and ratepayers funding. So thank you for your time today.
Thank you, Ms. Walscheid-Brennan. And the document that we have is from you, is that correct? Okay. Okay, excellent, thank you. Is there anybody else in person who would like to address the commission at this point? Okay, we will turn to the virtual options, and I see Heidi Brown that you have your hand raised. Right, Ms. Brown. Ms. Brown, if you're speaking, I think you may be on mute. We can't hear you.
Okay, I
Yep.
should be here. Okay.
Perfect. We
All
can even
right.
see you.
I know, what, my goodness. Good afternoon. I am speaking on case U21471, the Helix Hipple transmission line. My property is the Drumheller Marsh, 4601 18.5 mile road. I haven't spoken in a couple months. I wanted to put you up to date. We have had confirmation of the eastern Massasauga rattlesnake, documented 10/5 of 2024. This was near the Nottawa Drain. We contacted Matthew Dana from the U.S. Fisheries Division of the Michigan State DNR on 10/7. He contacted the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Division that protects the species federally. It was logged into their system on 10/7 that it has been sighted on our property, and the photos are dated. Everything states where it's at. So our 25-acre marsh is now designated as habitat for this endangered species that is nearly extinct. ITC wants to put their poles right down the middle of the drain that goes to our property, the Nottawa Drain, which is the largest drain in Calhoun County. It is federally protected. I spoke with the new drain commissioner that was recently elected this morning. He stays consistent with the prior commissioner in stating that they have an easement on the Nottawa Drain that cannot be encroached upon. The way these maps are set out, the poles are being set on 6 acres right along the drain within 30 feet of the center of the drain. The county cannot, they won't be allowed to work on the drains. They can't even get their equipment past these poles. So they are not going to approve it. And they are talking to Eagle about that, wanted me to call Eagle this morning. Lastly, we have had people coming in representing ITC with options for our community. We cannot contact ITC about this. They won't even pick up the phones. I am hosting a public forum that will be, it's going to be on YouTube. It's going to be on all the Facebook pages along a 35-mile route where the proposed route is going through our county. We're going to discuss the options that ITC has been giving us per acre, the easement options. I'm going to have special guests on the program. We're going to have this feed available to the Michigan Public Service Commission so that you will be able to access it by link, because our community is not being represented. We find that this is going to be the way to bring people together. We already have 75 seats filled for these meetings, and I'll be hosting this on this week on Thursday evening. So hopefully I'll be able to give that to you so you'll see the concerns. Our option prices are all different. We're going to discuss this together as a group. But my main concern again is protecting the EMR snake that we have photographed October 4th. So, and again, they said that with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Services, this is going to take a lot of extra steps in getting this approved for any permits, and it's going to draw red flags because of the snake. It's virtually extinct in our part of the state. So thank you so much for allowing me to speak today, and I appreciate it.
Thank you, Ms. Brown.
Thank you.
I don't see any other hands up on the virtual options. So at this point, we'll conclude the public comment period of the meeting. Please note, of course, that the public may continue to submit comments to the commissioners via email. That address again is Lara, which is LARA -MPSC commissioners@michigan.gov. And again, that email address is in the meeting notice. Before we conclude, Commissioner Peretick, I think you have a couple of announcements.
Sure. Thank you, Chair. I would like to begin by thanking the utility workers who prepared our system for the wind and ice storms that we've had in the first few weeks of this year. While we have had some difficult windy and icy weather, it actually resulted in very minimal electrical outages as a result of the preparation and focus on reliability improvement. And then I'd also just like to note that there are a couple upcoming staff-led meetings that the public is encouraged to participate in. Immediately following this commission meeting in about 17 minutes at 2 p.m. today, our staff is hosting a technical conference on the Michigan Potential Study on Energy Waste Reduction, Demand Response, and Electrification. Everyone is encouraged to attend virtually who's interested, and the link can be found on our website. And then there's one more work group, the Affordability Alignment and Assistance Subcommittee of the Energy Affordability and Accessibility Collaborative is being held from 1 to 2 p.m. on March 4th. And all interested parties are encouraged to attend, and you can sign up to receive meeting notices and participate in the meeting on the MPSC's website as well.
Thank you, Commissioner Peretick. A few from my end as well. First, I want to note that House Speaker Matt Hall recently announced committee leadership and membership for the 2025-2026 legislative session. I want to congratulate House members on their committee assignments, and particularly those serving on the House Energy Committee, including Chair Pauline Wenzel, Majority Vice Chair Dave Preston, and Minority Vice Chair Joe Tate. The House Communications and Technology Committee, including Chair Jamie Green, Majority Vice Chair Tom Kuntz, and Minority Vice Chair Helena Scott, and the House Appropriations Subcommittee for Licensing and Regulatory Affairs and Insurance and Financial Services, which controls our budget, including Chair Timmy Bizon, Majority Vice Chair Donnie Steele, and Minority Vice Chair Donovan McKinney. We look forward to working with these committee chairs and vice chairs, as well as the individual members in the weeks and months ahead. Second, as we do each February, the Commission is again this year celebrating Black History Month. It's an opportunity to note the many ways that Black Americans have contributed to our state and country, and to the Michigan Public Service Commission in particular. As Governor Whitmer and Lieutenant Governor Gilchrist noted in proclaiming February as Black History Month in Michigan, during this month, Michiganders are invited to honor the courage, achievements, and lasting contributions of Black Americans who have shaped our state and nation. Black History Month is also a time to reflect upon the continued commitment to equity, freedom, and progress as we continue to build a more inclusive future. Here at the Commission, we continue to carry this commitment into each facet of our work this month and every month, to our work around employee engagement and wellness to build on the strengths of our diversity as an organization, to our work around outreach and relationship building in communities around the state, to our work on process improvements and efforts to expand public participation in our proceedings and other activities, and to our work as regulators overseeing the critical infrastructure on which we increasingly rely. In her note to our staff this morning celebrating Black History Month, Commissioner Carrion quoted the great Jackie Robinson, who the first Black baseball player to play in the American major leagues during the 20th century, who once said that a life is not important except in the impact it has on other lives. And I can't think of a better metric. As Commissioner Carrion noted, our collective work impacts the lives of many Michiganders. I want to thank her in expressing our sincere appreciation to the Commission staff for their diligence. And finally, even though warmer weather still seems in many ways a ways off yet, there are definite signs of spring if you know where to look. And specifically, tomorrow is the first workout for pitchers and catchers, and the Tigers kick off spring training with their first game a week from Saturday. Opening day is just 59 days away. Go Tigers. And with that, we'll conclude today's meeting. The next regular commission meeting is scheduled for Thursday, February 27, 2025 at 1:00 p.m. Is there a motion to adjourn, Commissioner Peretick?
I move to adjourn today's meeting.
I second the motion.
We will now have a vote on the motion to adjourn the meeting. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries by unanimous vote. The meeting is adjourned. Thanks, everybody.